Hi guys, FrostFangs here, back again with another Paladins video. Going to be playing Rei today, a character that I would say is one of the more underrated and definitely one of the least popular characters from my experience in the game, above Shaolin, but Shaolin is way under pretty much everybody. Played a couple games with her recently, really enjoyed it, thought I'd make a video. Has been ages since I last covered her. The last one was back in January, so over half a year, but most of what is going on with Rei is the same, aside from a few of her cards being nerfed a bit and my builds being a little bit different. The only character, when I think about it, that's kind of close to Rei is Lilith. I feel like she got played a lot around release, Rei probably more so than Lilith, but after release, it's been a little while now since Lilith. Nobody really picks them up, at least I don't see them very often. This video is going to be focused on Rei because I haven't played her in ages, but there's a bunch of other characters I'd also say are underrated. Rei is just one for me that I specifically very rarely see, and I feel like she's way better than people give her credit for. But my whole point with this intro is I wouldn't say there are crazy amounts of underrated characters. These are just my opinions, but I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments who you think is underrated, and if there's more than one, yeah, definitely let me know. 7 and Vatu I'd also kind of throw in the underrated category a little bit. Definitely a little bit different with these two because I think most people know that in the right hands, Vatu and 7 really do shred, which is harder to sort of see with the healers obviously and with characters like Anara. But yeah, damage and flankers, there really aren't that many underrated. I guess Shaolin is more underplayed than underrated. I think most people think he's fine. And also to add on to that these days, I'd say that Octavia, characters like Sati and Vivian are not necessarily underrated, similar to Shaolin, they're just underplayed. I very rarely see Vivian. Most people I think grab Victor over her. Same with Octavia. Sati's in a weird spot, but I personally think she's really good and isn't really given enough credit. I guess we'll see, but it's a big reason why I want to hear from you guys because that might give me some sort of ideas for stuff. But I suppose if I get the same comment of somebody being called underrated the whole time, maybe that makes them not underrated. I don't know. Shoutouts to Sim, run on Swordsmith's archives. Then we also have a Tyra, Khan, and Pip, and for this I have an Eevee, a Vora, a Ceres, a Shaolin, and a Victor. Didn't talk about Rei's talents at all, but I don't really have very much to say about them. Extension is a super safe choice. Focus is also an option, and Restraint is just there, but Extension is what I find myself grabbing 90% of the time just because it's the safest. Like I said, I have two different versions of the build, very similar as the last time. I showed it with ult charge, a bit of healing going on. We'll grab Chronos and Nimble. You can either grab more healing to the person you're marked or more ult gen is I think how I've got it set up at the moment. I'm expecting to be pretty rough here though, to be honest, just because I haven't really warmed up for this, even though I have played a bit of Rei recently, not a crazy amount, and just in general I haven't been playing Paladins as much as I'd like at the moment. There's a right click on the Q, which is why you've seen a little bit less content on the channel, to be honest. Like I talked about, just kind of caught up a bit with other stuff, but slowly sorting it all out. There's a Q and a right click on the Tyra, some slaps here on the Vora, pretty good hits there, to be honest. It is quite important to land your shots if you're going to run this build because you do get cooldown reduction essentially for landing them. Switch the mark onto the Zim, we'll pop the F, maybe that'll keep him up. Nope, we'll switch the target over there to the Khan. It does take me a little minute to get used to using the Q and not like breaking it by accident. Jesus Christ, the damage there. Pop the F there for the Tyra, who's going for the ult. I wouldn't say Rei is a difficult character to play, but I feel like a lot of the time when I've seen people play her, they don't have a very easy time. I don't know what it is that people do wrong, so I can't really give you too many tips. But yeah, Rei isn't that difficult. I think people just overthink a lot of the plays that you make with her. I think that is a fair thing to point out, just because Rei isn't a character that you have to think a lot about to play. You kind of just throw your marks, your right clicks, your F, try and time stuff. I guess the timing maybe needs a little bit of knowledge to play properly. I'm dead here. Wasn't even a proper sentence. I'm just getting wailed on by the Eevee and the Shaolin. Maybe the team will get rid of him. I feel like the biggest thing for Rei that people will mess up is the items and also the build. I feel like the build is super important with her because you're going to have a way harder time if you pick one of the default ones, which I don't think are particularly great. Definitely looking forward to Kazumi's release. Just randomly thought about it because she's also a character that I'd say is rather sort of build dependent. There's a heal. Rei still works very well as a do this as long as you're landing your hits. Stop back in spawn, finish off our Chronos. There is a right click event, just get a heal to the Khan. Tyra's on like nothing. I don't know if we saved her there or not, but she was dying to burn damage, it looked like. There's an F. Nope, on cooldown like a little bit. There goes Victor. There's a heal. Keeping the mark on Tyra here just to get that one sort of 50. I feel like weirdly Rei ended up being a character that didn't change much between like release, or I guess a little bit after release, and where she is now. She's been pretty much the same for as long as I can remember, other than a few changes she got initially. Yeah, she really hasn't changed very much as a character, which is maybe a reason why she's a little bit less popular, because people have, I guess, had enough of playing her. We'll go for the ult. Really got rid of the freaking Ceres there. I'm having a really hard time keeping up with commentary today. We'll mark the Pip, sure, throw a heal to him. But my healer's going through walls way more often. Right click for the Khan, heals on the Zin here, right click for him again, there's the Q. F, really wish I could spam the right click a bit more, but I'm not playing as much of a hybrid, which is sort of what you want to do with Rei because you get that buff. There's a right click. Sarah's just getting removed. Definitely a downside you could point out with Rei is that, yeah, compared to other healers, she has a bit of a hard time healing through walls or healing flankers. I feel like overall healers have a pretty easy time with that, and Rei's one of the ones that you sort of always need vision with or need to play in the middle of the team as a hybrid. That's Ceres going for the ult, but she does provide something that no other healers really provide other than a few small examples, which is ult charge. She really does buff the ult charge up at the team, and if if your team's taking advantage of it, you're throwing out your right click like the entire time. You really do feel like you're ulting a lot more if you've got a Rei on your side. We'll go for the ult on the Khan because he's right in the middle and there's just so much damage going on. There's an F. We should have used that a little bit sooner. We'll throw a heal to the Tyra. She's playing just overall sort of awkward. I'm trying to hit that Victor, but I'm having a hard time. There goes Tyra. That's like everybody dead. Rip, I'm gone here as well. Maybe I shouldn't have pulled attention to myself. Zin is on me, so maybe we're fine. There's a Q on him and an F. Right click. Sure, I guess we're out. We'll go back to spawn. We've got 1500 credits pretty much. Already finished off Chrono, so just double nimble and then Haven. I feel like nimble on Rei is quite important because you don't have any sort of movement. You just have your F, which is sort of just a very little speed buff. I'm dead here for sure. Just crazy amounts of damage coming out from their side. Even though we're healing for quite a lot with me and Pip, they're just shredding through us because we don't really have output to kill them. Get rid of this Vora. There we go. It doesn't feel like anybody on our side's got Rejuvenate, but we're just healing for like crazy amounts. They're just actually out damaging us, which is sort of surprising, although Boots went back and forth a bit there. We are pretty much even score-wise. Been one hell of a game, actually. Even if the enemy isn't like actually on us and we're all full health, you want to be spamming that right click because it does still trigger the ult gen. I tried to pop the F before that, but that didn't work. There's a right click, which I don't know if I got off. Did the F trigger? I guess it didn't. Somehow me and Khan both lived there, though. So right click, I think we're still all gone. They deserve the win to us as a team. I feel like they've done way better than we have, but it was close. Keep there on the Zin and an F. Sure, just about keeping him up. We did grab morale boost here just so maybe we can get an extra ult off at the end. We'll go for it on the Tyra. Probably a bad item choice though, to be honest. I don't know if I'd really grab that very often on Rei. There's a right click for the Zin. There goes the Victor. Accidentally delinked the freaking Q there, which sucks. That might get me killed. Never mind, we're just about up. There's a Q on the Khan. We could technically still win this. I'm spamming the left click and the right click as best as I can. I feel like that right click bounces around for a little bit too long sometimes. We are 390 to 395. I think if I lived and didn't mess up that plane, maybe we could have ended up with a victory there. I'm fine with the loss though, because like I said, I think they were the better team. But there we go. There are the stats for game one. Really quite happy with how we did there. I definitely could have done better. I think I might have been the reason we lost because there were a few plays that I messed up that I really should have had in the bag. But 4, 5, 18, 33k is kind of on the lower end, but 93k, 94k healing. I am really quite happy with there. We doubled all the healers. Tyra did fine. Zin did a really good job there though. Khan also played a little bit weird. I feel like he should have had way more damage than that. Pip played okay, but could have done better there as a hybrid there. Ceres was solid though. Charlene played a bit iffy. Vora did good. Victor was probably the most annoying alongside Evie for me, but overall pretty close somehow. Was definitely tempted to do a Siege in today's video with Rei, but even though I would say she's underrated and very strong, Siege is where I don't feel very comfortable with her just because I haven't played it very much in Siege, and she requires sort of a specific team comp, or at least somebody you can sort of pocket for her to do well, just because again, like I said in the last match, you can't really heal through walls or flankers or anything, which is definitely a reason why I see her there. In Siege, I completely get it. She's a pretty awkward and sort of complicated pick for Siege. I feel like you need to know exactly what you're doing in that scenario, and you know, the map and the teams are pretty dependent. Whereas on Onslaught, I don't really see a situation where she's going to do a bad job. I feel like she does fill a pretty unique role, at least in my opinion. But yeah, King of the Hill Marauder support. We've got a Tyra, a Betty, a Seven, and a Moji. And for their side, a Leanne, a Maeve, a Makoa, a Ceres, and a Vora. So I did switch up the skin, but other than that, we're running the exact same thing. And I'm not really going to talk about the skins in this video because I talked about them already in their own individual videos, and my thoughts are all pretty much the same. For some reason, I thought Makoa was flanking there because I heard the hook, but that's just me like not being able to hear very well because I'm using my in-ears instead of my headphones or something. There's a right click for the emoji. We'll throw a Q here on the 7. I really hate when you can just de-link from somebody instead of switching. It's kind of annoying. So switch on to Betty, right click. We're actually doing alright so far. There's an F. I think I'm dead, right? Yeah, I'm off the map. Seems like we did sort of win that team fight though. It's pretty much even, to be honest. Let's get rid of the Vora. Nearly emoji just landed like one hit on her and she should be out. Throwing some right clicks and some Qs here on the team, even though we're not really getting hit, just to get those stacks going. Not going to fire into the Makoa shield because we're not going to break it. Might as well just deny him of a bit of reset. Never mind, the shield is gone. Okay, they're both dead. Q switch on to him. Right click. What is the commentary right now? Ceres just jumped off the map. I think I'm gone. We'll throw a right click. Maybe I can get behind cover. No, heal got to me there. I shouldn't have jumped out. I just died to the end for nothing. There goes the Ceres. She tried to ult. I'm healing for a decent amount. I'm just missing most of my shots. So I'm not really getting the reset. And my healing is as great as it could be. I feel like people are getting kind of close to dying when they really shouldn't be. In a weird way, you sort of end up buffing your entire team's like ult charge by you dealing damage, because then you can right click more often, even if your team is like full health, which is another really weird thing that I never thought about before until right now for whatever reason. Maybe I mentioned it in a different video, then I just don't remember. Right click for the Ceres, she's out. Switch a Q over to the Tyra. We're actually doing pretty good now, a little bit more warmed up. There's a right click for a lot of them. Don't know if they changed the right click at all, but it definitely feels better than it did back in the day. I feel like it targets the person who is lowest compared to like other people way more than it used to. There's a right click for the Tyra. I'm so bad with words today, keeping people as high as we can. cute on the emoji right there. The effects on this skin are really top notch. I like them a lot. Get some Haven, get a little bit of Nimble. I pretty much always go for the same thing, although I don't usually finish with morale boost. I usually go for like Veteran or something these days. One tip I can give you if you're playing with a Rei on your team, not if you're playing yourself, is just use your ultimate. It also kind of goes for Rei, I suppose, but you gen it really quickly if you've got a Rei on your team who's using this sort of setup. If they're not, then I suppose just play as normal. But if you are playing with a Rei who's running an ult gen setup, just use your ultimate. Even if the card's like a couple levels in their setup, it's going to make a really big difference. It's funny coming from me, somebody who usually just preserves the ultimate way too much in, you know, games, although less so these days. I feel like I just ignore certain abilities these days in the friggin' videos, but there goes the Ceres, getting some pretty big heals here. To be honest, the team isn't doing a bad job with the ultimates. They're not like saving them for no reason, but they actually are using them a little bit less than I would like. There's some pretty nice right clicks. Switch that over to the emoji. I thought I had my Q up, but apparently not. Do we get cooldown reduction on hitting shields? I don't think we do. I think that's the thing they changed since the last time I played her. Pretty sure that card doesn't trigger on shields anymore, and it used to, which was a reason why it was a little bit too good. Maybe that's what I made the video about. I'm actually not sure, but heals here on just everybody. That's the Ceres. I tried to use the F there, but there's a little bit of a timer on it. That's an ult from 7, which was pretty clutch. Somehow we're all still upper. We really shredded them this game, actually, when I'm looking at the score now. Definitely slightly unfair because they didn't have a Mave, but there we go. Victory. Pretty good showcase there for Rei, I would say. Solid. And yeah, there we go. Stats for the second one. I did better for sure, but definitely not perfect. If I was outputting more damage, that would have sort of been peak Rei, because you get the cooldown reset, ult gen, all that stuff. Hybrid, sort of in the middle of the team, is the best way to play her. And I was missing the damage part there. For the rest of the team there, though, Betty was the star of the show. 7 did pretty damn good. Emoji did fine. So did the Tyra. For this, I'd Void did the best, I would say. Ceres and Makora also did solid. And Maeve was the AFK and the Urn, which is kind of there. But yeah, there we go. That was a sort of look at who I would call the most underrated character, Rei, Scholar of House Psycho. For some reason, I just never remember her tagline, but not much I can really add here at the end. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Let me know also where you want to see me the next. I'll see you guys all really soon. And as always, stay frosty.